Rookie minicamp, OTAs, and mandatory minicamp is officially in the books for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with that being said, we have seen probably one of the most generational draft classes in a long time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have drafted 3, maybe even 4 day one starters on this football team going into next season, and you almost never see that in an NFL draft. Not only do they draft Troy Fautanu in the first round, who looks like he could be their starting right tackle, but you also draft a potential starting center in Zack Frasier, a starting wide receiver in Roman Wilson, and a future stud in Peyton Wilson as well. In this video, I wanted to break down why this rookie class for the Pittsburgh Steelers has generational written all over it. We're going to break down some of the practice highlights. We're going to look at exactly why these guys are going to be so valuable to the Steelers team going into next season, as well as some underrated UDFAs and late round picks that could potentially break out in training camp as well. Before we dive into the video, I want you guys to do me a favor and comment down below 1 or maybe 2 dark horses that you think could make the 53-man roster. It could be anybody, an undrafted free agent, someone they just brought in, like a Scotty Miller, or maybe a Jacob Copeland who they just signed. Let me know in the comments down below someone you think could break out for this football team. I just made a video talking about Russell Wilson potentially being reactivated into prime Russell Wilson. Go watch that one. And with that being said, let's dive into the generational rookie class for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, obviously, we need to start this video by talking about their first round pick, right? Troy Fautanu is a guy who they originally drafted to be their starting left tackle in the blind side for their quarterbacks, right? But he has been so damn dynamic and versatile throughout, mandatory minicamp, OTAs, and rookie minicamp so far that they have been moving him up and down the lineups, left tackle, right guard. This man is playing in so many different positions right now. He is so valuable to their team. And yes, he will be a day one starter. It looks like Broderick Jones, he is going to move to the left side. You have Isaac Seumalo in the left guard position, James Daniels in the right guard position, and this could be one of the best offensive lines in football for the next couple of seasons. Maybe not next year, but after next year, the future is super, super bright depending on their development. But listen, when you talk about a guy like Troy Fautanu, the lateral hustle to move back side to side, insane, right? The footwork is something you don't see too much out of a left tackle or right tackle, which is what made him that number 1 or their first round selection, right? But he also has great lateral quickness, his good knee bend, can generate a lot of power with his lower half. It keeps his way back, avoiding to be countered off balance in protection. This guy is going to be able to become a huge player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not only next season, but the future as well. And then you look at, his offensive line buddy, right? Zack Frasier. This is another one of those guys who is going to be a day one starter for this football team. Again, he is someone that is better than what they've had last season. Obviously, you have Nate Herbig and you have Ryan McCullum and Spencer Anderson, but Zack Frasier gives you the most potential right away at the center position. And you look at his, strengths, he's got unbelievable upper body power, the strength to open up lanes in the running game and even secure blocks in the passing game is unreal, right? He's got good eyes, he got good IQ. This is a dude who is going to change the game in the interior of the offensive line. He's got good punch placement. He's got good above average grip strength as well. And he just got really good core strength overall. Another one of those guys who is going to be terrific in terms of opening up, holes for a guy like Najee Harris, which is another thing we talk about in terms of this new look Pittsburgh Steelers team with, Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. Najee and Jalen Warren are probably going to get so many opportunities to get big time runs this year, not only because of this new look offensive line, but because of Arthur Smith and the way he likes to utilize his running backs, right? So, big year for Najee Harris coming. I almost guarantee it. And then from there, you look at a guy like Roman Wilson, who early on in camp looked like he could be that number 3 guy. Now, he does have some competition, especially with Calvin Austin, who has really gone better in terms of creating separation. Calvin Austin is another one of my picks to break out this year. But Roman Wilson, again, another potential starter. Reminds me a lot of like a Marvin Mims type of guy. And we know how good Marvin Mims was with Russell Wilson last year. Think about it for a second, guys. This is a perfect pair up. with him and Russell Wilson, perfect pairing, right? Now, before we deep dive into a little bit more of Roman Wilson, but more importantly, Peyton Wilson, one of my favorite players that they drafted, make sure you guys do me a big favor. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family, turn on post notifications, guys. It is free, it doesn't cost anything, and we will be covering the Steelers throughout the entirety of the offseason, all of training camp, all of preseason, all of regular season, everything you guys need to know. We got you guys covered here on the channel. So make sure you guys join the family. Again, it's free, it doesn't cost anything, right? With that being said, let's kind of dive right back into the video. Now, again, Roman Wilson, some of his biggest strengths are the explosive speed, the ability to stretch the field, stress the coverage, keep defenses honest. He's got great acceleration. He's very short-handed. If the ball is anywhere near his catch radius, he's probably going to come down with the ball. And he obviously is a pretty good route runner as well. So I think he's got to really become more consistent in some of these areas, especially when he hits that second gear, being able to maintain it and be consistent in that area specifically. But again, this is a guy I have a ton of faith in and a ton of confidence in that, maybe he's not a day one starter, but he eventually will work his way up to be that. And that's just something I am really high on. And then lastly, the last rookie that I think could be a day one starter for them is Peyton Wilson. This is probably the biggest steal of the NFL draft. If it wasn't for his injury issues, this would be a guy drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. And I, again, am confident in that 4.4 speed as a linebacker is unreal. His ability to drop back into his zone coverage, play a hook curl, play a mid-read, even get into the flats as well, is something that is really, really valuable in the NFL. But not only that, his ability to come up, attack the gaps, the A gap, the B gap, right? Get into the lane on double mug blitzes, get to the quarterback, create pressure is another thing that I love. But also stopping the running game, right? Block shedding, getting off a block and making a big time play in that aspect. Peyton Wilson is going to be a massive addition for this football team. He, again, might not be a day one starter, but has starting capabilities down the line. You look at bringing in Patrick Queen, you look at having a Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb. I think Peyton Wilson is the second best linebacker on this team, and I wouldn't be surprised by week 6, week 7, week 8. Peyton Wilson is a full-time starter on the interior of this linebacker core. But from there, you can already tell how deep of a football team this really is. When you have Peyton Wilson as potentially your 4th linebacker, Mark Robinson as your potential 5th linebacker, Nick Herbig as a backup line. I mean, dude, it is insane the depth at this. I mean, even Jeremiah Moon is a guy that showcased some skills during, mandatory minicamp as well. I am so excited for the Steelers team next year. I think if Russell Wilson has a big year, this might be the scariest team in the entirety of the NFL. From there, I kind of want to bring up a couple of honorable mentions, guys who I think have the potential to break out during training camp. One being Beanie Bishop. Now, I know they brought in a Cam Sutton, but Beanie Bishop has been everything you'd want in a nickel corner so far. You talk about Corey Trice last year breaking out during training camp and mini camp and whatnot, and then getting injured. That was a dude I thought could be a day one starter for them if he didn't get injured. Beanie Bishop is very similar. If they didn't have Cam Sutton, if they didn't or weren't able to bring in Cam Sutton, I think Beanie Bishop would be potentially a day one starter for this football team next season if he continued to play this way in training camp. From there, we can talk about a guy like Anthony Averett. Now, this isn't a rookie by any means. He's actually a veteran, but a very underrated one. I think if they need depth, he is a guy that will probably make the 53-man roster and actually make an impact on this team next season. You talk about Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson, Cam Sutton. Those are your projected starters at the cornerback position. But behind those guys, it gets a little bit dicey, right? You have Anthony Averett, you have Darius Rush, you have Corey Trice and Jediah Scott, and then Beanie Bishop, right? But I think Anthony Averett, out of those guys, gives you the most leadership, gives you the most experience, and is probably the guy on this team that I think could take a nice little jump up. I don't think he'll be a day one starter, but I think he can make an impact on this football team next season. Now, there's one more guy who got a lot of hype around, the offseason so far, and that is no other than Calvin Austin. I brought his name up earlier. I think he's going to break out. I really do. The ability to create separation now is so much more improved. The ability to, keep a defense honest, but get behind them and make big-time plays, over the top with Russell Wilson is something I love. There's actually one more guy I want to bring up as well. And specifically, it is no other than running back Juwan Edwards. Now, he's an interesting one because throughout rookie minicamp, he looked really good. And then they started to add some running backs in, LaMichael Pirine and Jonathan Ward as well. And with Arthur Smith here, they really want to get the running game involved. So having so many guys that you can look at during preseason is something they want to see. But John Edwards is a guy I really, really like. I'm excited to see how they use him. But right now, when you look at this team, when you look at these rookies, 4 potential stars in Roman Wilson, Zack Frasier, Trey Fatanu, Peyton Wilson, and then from there, you have a lot of guys who are really starting to look good as well. Logan Lee, I didn't even mention him, but he's a guy that started to make some plays towards the end of mandatory minicamp. Expect him to, really get it going during training camp. Then you have a guy like Beanie Bishop, Ryan Watts, I didn't mention as well, John Edwards. This rookie class has the ability to be probably one of the best in football this season. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. What are your expectations for this rookie class, and do you think they can exceed expectations? Let me know. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Steelers update. Peace.